Hey there hunters, Lord here, back with yet another Monster Hunter Wilds discussion video. So a good friend of mine in the Monster Hunter community, Shincry, many of you have probably heard of him if you're active on Monster Hunter Twitter at all. This guy's great, covers all sorts of stuff, definitely go give him a follow. But anyway, Shincry put out a tweet the other day asking basically this question: should hunting horn buffs continue to persist after you swap to another weapon? This, of course, has sparked a great debate amongst the Monster Hunter community, so I wanted to weigh in with my thoughts all in one place in this video. Now before we get into it, I do want to state that again, these are purely my opinions, yours may differ, and that's totally okay. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on this matter down in the comments below, but please do remember to remain civil and be kind to one another. Any comments where you guys are being rude or harassing or insulting to each other, I'm just going to go ahead and remove them, as that really has no place in my community or in the Monster Hunter community as a whole. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump straight into the discussion. So I'll go ahead and start with my definitive stance on the matter. I am a firm believer that the hunting horn buffs should continue to persist in Monster Hunter Wilds, even if that user swaps to a different weapon. Surprisingly to me, many people seem to be very against this, with the main reason being that they feel it will contribute to less people overall using hunting horn, which I strongly disagree with. The main argument seems to be that this would reduce hunting horn only to a support weapon to buff your main weapon, leaving it practically useless and undesirable for non-hunting horn mains to try out for any other reason. Now to me this seems like a very subjective opinion, and for me personally I think is the opposite of what would happen. I'll lay out my reasoning across a few different steps here to try and debunk this claim as best I can, by providing what I believe to be solid counterarguments that support why these claims are backwards. So firstly, if someone has not played hunting horn before, Monster Hunter Wilds is going to be the perfect time to do so. With the new 2-weapon feature being added, you could bring a weapon that you're comfortable with. For this example, let's use longsword, as well as a hunting horn so you can learn it on the fly. You could drop right into a fight that you know well. For me, in a lot of games, I use Rathian as my training dummy because she has easy to understand attack patterns and very exploitable openings. So let's go ahead and say that you drop into a Rathian hunt, you have your longsword and your hunting horn, and you decide to start off with the hunting horn, so that way you can learn it a little bit better. You go ahead and buff yourself, you do some of the sweet new offset attacks, and you're just generally having a pretty good time. But you start to run into issues where you don't know all the hunting horn combos and how long it takes to input each combo, and so you're getting hit a little bit more often than you like. Suddenly you're getting poisoned, your health is low, and you don't want to cart. So you instead swap to longsword, but all your buffs immediately disappear, you make one little timing mistake, and you cart anyway. In my opinion, this style of the hunting horn buffs wearing off would actually push people away from using hunting horn again in the future, since it caused them to cart on a hunt that they usually find pretty easy, which is frustrating for most gamers. However, let's flip the script and say that the buffs do persist, and you keep either your defense up or attack up. We'll use those two as examples. There's of course a multitude of other songs, but we use those two as our main examples. And so with the defense boost, you're able to survive that attack when you switch to the longsword that would have carted you otherwise. Or with the attack up song, you're able to deal enough damage that does a flinch or a trip to Rathian, meaning that she couldn't get off that attack, it never hits you, and you stay alive and in the hunt. Suddenly the thought process is, oh hey, maybe if I didn't have those hunting horn buffs, I might have died there. This hunting horn may still be worth trying to learn or bringing along on other hunts. Now, one of the other arguments that I've heard is that if the hunting horn buffs do continue to last even after swapping, it doesn't give hunters any reason to stay playing hunting horn, which is a totally valid thing to consider. My counter-argument to this would be that if these people who have never played hunting horn before anyway are at least willing to try it out in Wilds because of the 2-weapon feature, they really now wouldn't have any reason to try it, since the buffs only last if they stay on hunting horn. Why would you bother learning an entirely new and complex weapon that most people are likely not going to switch to from their main weapon for all of their hunting anyway, since you're already comfortable with that other weapon, if none of the impact of hunting horn effects last if you do decide to use the new feature in Monster Hunter Wilds to weapon swap? It completely removes the use of weapon swapping, which again is a new feature that people are excited for, and you're now forced to stay on hunting horn if you do want those buffs for your hunt, which might be a weapon that you're not comfortable with anyway. I had a really great discussion with someone on Twitter who argued that having the buffs persist after swapping removes the personal power of the hunting horn. Also, I feel like this goes without saying, but I'm going to be showing some screenshots of the conversation I had on Twitter with this person. Please do not try to find this person and harass them. They were very kind, very understanding, and very calm in their discussion with me, and under no circumstances will I ever condone bothering someone else just because you disagree with them. One of the most important discussions in balancing is being able to hear the other side, and this person did a great job of presenting their points. They didn't necessarily get me to agree with them, but they were calm, civil, and kind, and we should all respect that. Which I would argue is actually the exact opposite in Monster Hunter Wilds. What removing the hunting horn buffs by swapping weapons would do is completely removing the desire to weapon swap, which would turn people away from even bringing a hunting horn along, even if it's just for the buffs. Should hunters be forced to stay on hunting horn if they want their buffs to last, rather than using the brand new game mechanic that this whole game is built around that allows you to bring two weapons to be able to use them across different scenarios within the same hunt? This line of thinking seems to completely counteract the two-weapon feature if you want players to have to stay on one weapon all the time if they want its benefits. I fully believe that by allowing the buffs to continue after switching weapons, more people would both try and learn the hunting horn, which is just a net positive for the weapon as a whole. You would have to learn the songs, the correct inputs in the correct order. You would have to learn how to queue up songs, you would have to learn how to encore those songs to get longer lasting effects, especially if you do plan to switch to another weapon to use those buffs. You would want those hunting horn buffs to last as long as possible, which would force you to learn the core mechanics of hunting horn. Whether you ultimately decided to switch your main to hunting horn or not, a heavy amount of learning the weapon would be required to ensure that you get your buffs fully maxed out and for the longest amount of time possible that you could get those buffs to last. One of the big points of arguing that buffs shouldn't last is that some people will play hunting horn only to get buffs and not to main it. To me, this just feels like gatekeeping. Claiming that people should only play a weapon if they want to engage with the entirety of the weapon in combat is just a little off to me. In older games, sure, that makes complete sense, you couldn't switch weapons, but in Wilds, that's seeming a little bit more like an elitist mindset, saying that, quote, you should only play my weapon if you are going to only play my weapon and not switch away. The counterpoint that I made to this claim is that you could shoot 2 shots of Sticky 3 ammo from a bowgun at a monster, getting a KO, and then you could swap to Greatsword to perform a TCS during the stun. Sure, you may be engaging with some of the core mechanics of bowgun like aiming and hitting the monster, but by doing this, you're not engaging with the other 19 bowgun ammos that existed back in World, and you're not engaging with critical distances, you're not learning the hit zones for optimal elemental ammos, etc., etc. Why should that be allowed in Wilds, but not hunting horn buffs persisting? Now, of course, I'll be the first to admit this is definitely not a perfect one-to-one comparison, but the argument of, well, you only use hunting horn for buffing, you're not engaging with its other combat features, can be applied nearly identically by saying, well, if you're only using the bowgun for 2 shots to get a KO, you're not engaging with the other aspects of the bowgun, which the other features of bowguns are considerably more important than just getting KOs. If your best argument is that people won't engage with the entire weapon, so they shouldn't play it at all, I would say that you just don't want people playing hunting horn in the first place. By engaging with the songs, learning how to queue up songs, learning how to encore songs, and more to ensure that your other weapon is all buffed up, you would be engaging with infinitely more of the weapon than if you didn't play hunting horn at all. Again, I'm strongly of the opinion that allowing buffs and support songs to persist through a weapon swap will get more people to start interacting with the hunting horn in any capacity than removing the buffs if you swapped over ever could. At the end of the day, I feel that the arguments against the hunting horn buffs lasting seem to boil down to, you should play the hunting horn how I want you to play it. And I feel like that is an extremely anti-Monster Hunter experience mindset. No one should feel like they have to play the game the same as anyone else. You bought the game, you picked the weapons you wanted to play, and you should be the person to decide how you interact with them and not anyone else. Sure, some people will like to play optimal DPS sets, while others will spend hours looking for rare endemic life, while others still will just want a fun time with friends where they can chill and hunt. None of these people are in the wrong, and none of these people are in the right. You always decide how to make the game fun for yourself. And if buffing with Hunting Horn and then swapping to another weapon makes combat more fun for you, why should anyone else tell you otherwise? Again, these thoughts are completely my opinion, so let me know what you think about this Hunting Horn discourse down in the comments below. Again, guys, please be kind, understanding, and civil with each other. If you did enjoy today's video and you want to help support this video completely for free, do consider leaving a like down below. If you're new to my channel, new to Monster Hunter, or you find yourself returning on the regular, do consider subscribing for more Monster Hunter content just like this. Wilds is fast approaching, it is releasing this month, and if you want more content like sets, builds, guides, tutorials, and much, much more when Monster Hunter Wilds releases, this channel is going to be the best place to find that. With all that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. I want to thank you for your opinions. I wish you all a good day and happy hunting.